you, but wow.
Wow, are you going to introduce yourself?
Oh, hey.
That's so funny because I was literally like, I think I just want to start with, what up, dog? But that is so not like me.
Hey, welcome to the Center and Saint. I'm Alyssa Bell.
And I'm Allison Kane.
So you know what's really weird? Summer is over. I'm like distraught.
Can you tell that we're all like, I started getting, oh my gosh, this week it was like all the senior class things, all of the other organizations that I'm a part of, and the meetings for fall and spring, and
rolling in.
the reminder, they should all start coming. Everybody's back and everybody's sending all these things, and I'm filling up my calendar, and I was literally sitting on the couch going, oh my gosh, summer's over. It's official.
I'm so sad about it.
I know. I feel like we just started.
We actually did. I had Williams schooling till the middle of June, so that was my bad. That won't happen again next year.
Well, that is kind of our school. Well, not really. Not when you're in high school and you have exams, but good gracious, here we are again.
It's a little overwhelming, and I'm just trying to decide, am I participating this year?
Yeah. Ooh, that's it. Ooh, do we have the option?
Absolutely.
Great. Oh my gosh. I'm thinking about, oh, that's awesome. You know, even if you don't have kids, this is still when things start to pick up. Because, you know, ministries that you're in, volunteering you may do, job meetings, like everything usually, depending on, you know, what you do, sort of slows for the summer. Because that's the general time that people are taking vacays and things like that.
Unless you work in the hospital system, I'm sure your life is just complete chaos year round.
All
Sorry.
the time.
We love you.
Facts.
Yeah.
But, you know, like football games start and people start getting back into these routines of fall and the school year and whatever else it is. So lazy days of summer are over, people.
Darn it.
In case you didn't already know, we're here to announce that. And obviously we're a little scattered because of it. But
do we have anything good to say today?
yes, we do.
Oh gosh, I'm glad you came prepared.
Well, I just thought that it would be great to consider that when our patience is running thin, our joy, our bandwidth, our time, our personal space,
Oh yeah.
the grace, all of that, I was reminded that everything in the Bible that God grew and made just enough was teeny tiny and little. A little bit of oil in the lamp kept it lit for days. You know, a tiny little pinch of yeast, loaves of bread. 2 pennies, little widow's mites, were a full offering.
Wow.
You know, before the Lord. A tiny mustard seed of faith is plenty. Just a tiny mustard seed. Dude, have you seen those? They're tiny.
Super tiny.
Super tiny. So the problem is that in order for that to work, we have to hand that little bit that we have to God.
Oh.
So that he can multiply it. Because we can't multiply it. And that was so convicting and encouraging to me as I sat there and considered that. It's like, well, I do have a small thing of faith or a little bit of joy left, a little bit of bandwidth. And it was like, well, what are you doing with it? Are you trying to make it grow in your think tank or in a science experiment? Because that's just not going to work. Are you handing it over to me? Are you going to step back, be still and quiet, make time for yourself, schedule time with me, spend time in the Word, find a group of people to hold you accountable, to sit with, to talk through? Are you going to pray for yourself? Y'all, I'm terrible at that. I'm really good at praying for other people. I'm super good.
Yeah, because it just feels so... Praying for yourself seems so, what is it, self-centered and selfish, and that's what it feels like.
Why? You know, it was the weirdest revelation for me. I was talking to somebody and they said, well, hadn't you just prayed about that with God? To heal that in you? And I was like, I was really embarrassed. I was like, no, actually I haven't.
Did you say no?
Yeah.
What was
I
that?
can't lie. I was like, no, I haven't. I guess I just never considered he cared about a cyst on my ovary. Like, it's all right. It'll go away, right? And he's like, it was like, what? Why would you not do that?
Right.
And it was really convicting. That's a question I have for all of you out there listening. Like, do you pray for yourself
No.
As much as you pray for everyone else in your family,
First of all, do you pray?
well, there's that. But
also, praying doesn't have to be what we think it is.
right.
It doesn't have to be that big ordeal. For me, praying is just a daily conversation where you pick it up and drop it, and it's like,
Yeah, I don't have prayer time, y'all. I'm just telling you. There's no like specific prayer time in my
Yeah.
life. It's kind of this all day conversation, but it's in those little moments where we're giving those little pieces, because we are all getting ready to be pulled in 1,000 different directions when fall begins again.
I know.
And
Oof.
I mean, some of it will go back to a little bit of peace, because if you have littles and they're in school, I think it's, I remember those days. There's a little bit of peace, but we feel that time so quickly
Oh, girl, yes. We better be
that
careful.
it's like, did I have any time? I don't think I did. I thought I would, but now I don't. And so giving it over to the Lord and keeping in mind the important things, not just staying busy with all the little minutia of life, with kids and marriage and family and sports and church and whatever. But I hit John 4:23 through 24, and it said, it's who you are and the way you live that count before God. That's the kind of people the Father is out looking for. Those who are simply and honestly themselves before Him in their worship. I was like, wow, that's refreshing. But then it's also convicting. So it's, who are you and how are you living? Is what we want to ask you today, and what I've been asking myself. I mean, it's super easy to just skip over those questions.
Right.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Back in the day of like traditional Bible study, these were the questions I just skipped over, and just went to the ones where it was like, fill in the blank. In verse 7:12, fill in the word after the word Hebrew,
Right.
I skipped over these. But this is where we get the good stuff. But it takes thought. And you got to sit on them. Like, who are you?
Right.
Wow, I don't know, man. That's a great question.
And maybe you've been in this realm long enough that you can just give us a pat answer, which is, oh, I'm a child of God.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
What does that mean? What does that look like? Let's ask more questions, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, these are the questions, these short, and we've talked about how cool these questions are, that are so short and seem so simple, but they're not at all. Very deceiving. These questions God uses to help us discover insights about ourselves, unpack hurts, old and new, and heal brokenness in our lives and trauma from the past. Just like we were talking about last week, how you so quickly went back in that birthday situation to like, wow, I'm bringing all this back in. But He used that. So, I mean, here, no right or wrongs. These were the things that flowed from my pen, because I was really trying to do this. Like, who are you?
Okay, I can't wait to hear this.
A girl, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend. And I was like, oh, that's really basic.
Right?
It's like noun, verb, adjective, And I was like, all right, girl, what else? Seeking friendship, love, security, purpose, and excitement. Sometimes joyful, sad, content, perplexed, frustrated, and excited about life and in life. So I did get a little bit deeper each time.
How long did that take you?
You know what? That's a great question.
Was it all in one sitting? Did you kind of ruminate on it for a week or a day, or?
I did sit with that over the morning and kind of went back and added some things. But the problem is now I need to take the time to go back into those, each of those things, and unpack them, like seeking friendship. So what does that mean in your life? And spend a day, a week on that.
Well, it's really interesting that you say you're seeking friendship, because you seem to have a ton of friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do. We all do, right? But I think we're all, as women, seeking those relationships, that friendship with those people. And I think, especially in summer, everybody kind of goes their different directions. I think that's why I've been feeling that way.
Okay.
You know, and we get out of those routines where we're seeing those people regularly at church or Bible studies or meetings or wherever that is. And I think there is beauty in getting back into the routine.
And you're a people person. You're a hugger.
Yeah.
You're like, you get fueled by all that. Yeah.
My friend Allison says you need 4 hugs a day just to survive.
Can you hug yourself, Allison? Friend Allison?
Yes. But, you know, sometimes joyful, sometimes sad. Okay, what does that look like? What's that been? But digging deeper into that, but sitting with who are you? And then I think, you know, unpeeling all of those layers, you would get to even more. Because those are very, see how surface you start. Like,
Yes.
who are you? I'm a girl.
Yeah.
I'm a wife. I'm a friend. I'm a sister.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's pretty basic. You are all those things. And they do come with a lot of baggage and expectations on their own. But
And I, you know, thinking about the answers to that, I'm not sure how long you plan on focusing on this, but here we are. If you answer honestly and say, well, I'm tired or sad or broken, then you get to find out, well, why are we here and how can we be somewhere else? What can we do to help those situations, right?
yes,
So,
instead of jumping into the busyness that
Right.
is upon us, to just cover all this up and ignore it for another season.
I was just speaking to someone this morning and I said, oh, have you heard from this friend? And they said, no, I haven't. And I said, well, whatever they're doing this summer, it's requiring them to spend a ton of time by themselves. And I was like, it's a lot of alone time. And so I think if you are uncomfortable when you're alone with yourself, that's a good place to start.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes. Some people do not do well on their own.
That was me at one point.
You always needed people and activity.
I just needed activity.
Yeah.
And
Not people
tasks.
necessarily.
Right. And tasks at hand.
You can keep your people. Just give me a job to do.
Exactly. I'll go sweep that floor.
It's amazing how we sometimes realize, sometimes don't, how we take that busyness and ignore those little red flags and those little times with the Lord that could take us deeper and keep us going. We just allow that to consume us and keep us distracted. Satan doesn't need to take away our salvation.
Right.
You know, like that's ours. He can't take it away. He just needs to keep us distracted enough so we don't grow in our faith, so we
Right.
don't make any change, so we
Minimize
skip.
our impact.
Yes, minimize our impact. Yes. You just totally miss the people God puts in our path and just the growth he has for each of us that'll strengthen all the relationships that we're in. And then that second question, how are you living? I mean, y'all, you could spend a whole year on just these 2 questions. I'm
For
not
real.
kidding. I mean, they seem so simple and really kind of annoying because this is how I would think back in the day of Bible study. It's like, oh, I don't have time to sit with that question. Like, whatever. I need to do my homework.
Right.
I need to fill in all these blanks. Who cares about this feeling stuff? I'm not kidding. That's how I was. It's like I skipped over all of this stuff just to like fill in all my blanks and make sure my homework was all done. Boy, have I changed.
Is that journaling?
It is that Lexio. So I asked myself, I just wrote down, like, how am I living? Am I living with God or without him? Am I seeking him in all things or am I seeking myself? Who's in charge here? Is am I seeking him in a blur? Like rushing by? Or am I seeking him with clarity and purpose? And, that can kind of depend on the day.
I was going to say, I think as long as you're seeking him, your intention is right. And God honors all of those things.
I agree. But we also have to go back to the very top where it's like, make time for that.
Right. And so I start working out in the morning. I go to class at like 7 in the morning or 7:30 or something. And then we have school. And then I also need my quiet time. And so I was starting to see all these things. And I'm going, there's only so many morning hours. And all these things have to happen in the morning hours. So I have to choose, right?
Yes.
And sometimes the choice, if you look at your calendar, you will see where your, I want to say allegiance, but that's such a dramatic word. You'll see where what's most important.
Or your priorities.
There you go. Thank you.
But it is an allegiance almost.
Yeah.
It's like, to what are you placing your hand over your heart about? Is it like your family, your Lord, your Lord, your quiet time, your personal growth, your relationships, whatever it is? Or is it just selfish busyness? Basically, what are you worshiping?
Right.
Is what it comes down to.
What are your idols?
Yes.
Which is
a whole nother podcast, right? Well, I was wondering, I'm going to totally put you on the spot.
Great.
Okay, you
love
love
this.
that, right?
Love it.
So I think you would agree that we're quick to dismiss these questions.
Yes.
So we kind of know why. I mean, they're hard. They're not fun. They take thought. They take change. They take acknowledgement and vulnerability and blah, blah, blah. Like so much work to do these things.
If you really do them.
Right.
Or you just say girl.
But how would you tell people, like, what motivates you to stick with these things, these hard things? Like, what has motivated you to sit with your journal for, 5 pages of journaling before you can have a conversation? Like, what has been that game changer that ignited that in you?
Honestly, I think once you start to see the changes that God can make in your heart, and then when he makes a change in your heart on a particular situation, you step back and you see the lens that you were looking through. It's so shocking. And often, I mean, I think people would probably say, Melissa 10 years ago was crass but funny. I wasn't like out burning buildings or robbing banks or anything.
She was thought about those things.
Overall good person. I did think about it, I'm sure. But I never premeditated. So I think both Melissas were okay Melissas, but now he's working through all the stuff that nobody else sees. And there's so much joy and also peace and awareness. I feel like I'm living life much more aware. I went to a beach trip right before you went to Italy, and I got to experience, because of all the work I've done with God, I got to experience on a deeper level all of people's firsts. My son got baptized. My mother-in-law bought her first bathing suit in 40 years.
Wow.
And so when you can experience that joy with somebody, it's just it's a Jesus joy, right? It's not about me. It's about her and what she gets to do. And it's not the martyr kind. It's not about me, but it's like, wow.
And that was a tiny thing, right?
Right.
Like a bathing suit.
Yeah.
It's those small joys in life, and enjoying them through the eyes of other people.
Yeah.
Is such a joy. You're right.
I think the confidence in knowing who God says we are, and you can't explain it until you've experienced it, but once you know who you were created by, his character, and how he created you to be, it just kind of aligns the stars, if you will.
Yes, I agree with all that wholeheartedly. And I would say, though, that many of us, just to distinguish, many of us believe, or we know who God says we are and all the things, but we don't truly believe it yet. Maybe it's an acceptance of that truth.
Yeah.
It's hard for us sometimes. And so you get stuck and you're like, I don't understand. But I love what you said. I mean, there is so much joy and a multitude of energy that comes out of when you go one place with God and he shows up and changes you in a way that you thought, like in a response, you thought you could never respond in that way, or a situation you could never handle, or whatever it is, you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
He is here. Like, all this is true. And then that next step, that next time, it makes it all the easier, all the more beautiful, all the more worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, we hope you experience some of this. So as the school year kicks off
Whew, girl.
and things get crazy, please, before you put anything else on your schedule, make sure that you have scheduled time for yourself. Like whatever that looks like. And hopefully some of that's talking to God, and hopefully there's some small group or some Bible study or some Lexio or whatever it is. But time with Him. And if you have to schedule it, do it. But answer the annoying questions. And maybe sometimes, maybe those questions are easier for you, but the filling in the blanks are harder. I can't even fathom that. But I don't know. Maybe that means something. I haven't experienced that. But so maybe switch it up. Ask yourself, wonder, why is this annoying to me? Why am I skipping over this question? Pause there and ask, I wonder why I'm skipping this. And don't skip over it, and sit with it and put it in front of your face every single day for a week. Who are you and how are you living?
I don't know about you, but oftentimes God will bring something into my heart while I'm reading or something, and I know you're going to sit here for a day or two. And I just leave the book open, and I keep going back to that same sentence, or I put it in my phone so I can keep ruminating on it. And then it starts to show up in different little areas of my life where God is trying to teach us a lesson.
I love that.
God is never done with us.
Never. Thank goodness.
Right? I'd have thrown the towel in a long time ago on myself.
I know, right? He never gives up. And
Just-
we can't ever give in.
Just do something small today. One little small step.
That's all it takes, the small things in life. That's where we find the joy, that's where we find the change, and that's where our strength and our trust and our faith in the Lord grow. Anyway, we hope you go out and this school year is amazing for all of you. And just keep in mind, time for you, time for God. Thanks for joining us this week on The Sinner and the Saint.